complete the square on a general quadratic ax squared plus bx plus c, when the a term is not a 1, well, if it's not a positive 1 in front of the x squared, then whatever's there we have to factor out before we can complete the square on just the x terms. So again, what I'm going to do for this equation is I'm going to group together my x terms, 2x squared plus 4x, and leave that minus 9 on the outside. From the x terms only, I want to factor out what's in front of the x squared, which is the 2. So I'm going to bring the 2 out in front of the parentheses. If I remove that from the 2x squared, it leaves an x squared. If I remove that from the 4x, it leaves a 2x. Again, leave some room there. I didn't factor anything out of the minus 9 because it's on the outside of the parentheses. Notice that the 2 that's outside of this set of parentheses here only distributes back through that set of parentheses. So the equation's still balanced. It's still the same as what we started with, just in a slightly rewritten form. So now I'm going to identify what's in front of the x term, which is the 2. We're going to call that b again. So b is 2. We divide that in half, get a positive 1, and then again we square the b over 2 term. So squaring a positive 1 also gives me a positive 1. So I add that inside the parentheses, and remember to keep the equation balanced. If I add something inside, I've got to subtract that same quantity. But notice that we said that this 2 that's out front here will distribute through the parentheses. So when I distribute it here, it'll multiply that plus 1 that I added. So this minus 1 I'm subtracting also needs to be multiplied by the same 2. So whatever I pulled out front here, I'm always going to multiply times the subtracted part that keeps the equation balanced. So we're just going to leave that 2 on the outside. X squared plus 1, x squared plus 2x plus 1 factors into x plus 1 squared. Minus 9 minus 2, combine the like terms. We have y equals 2 times x plus 1 squared minus 11. All right, let's try that again with another example. This time let's work with y equals 3x squared minus 7x. Here we don't have a constant term, so I don't need to worry about grouping the x's together and moving the constant to the outside, but our procedure is exactly the same. We start by factoring out the coefficient of the x squared, which is that positive 3. So if I factor it out of the x squared, it leaves an x squared. Factor it out of the 7, we're going to write that as 7/3 x. Leave myself a little bit of room and close off my parentheses. So in this case, the coefficient in front of the x, the b, is negative 7/3. So now when I divide that by 2, to simplify that, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of 2, so times a 1/2. That makes a negative 7/6. So now we square that, b over 2 squared. Negative 7 squared would be positive 49. 6 squared is 36. That's what I add inside the parentheses. If I add it inside the parentheses, I need to subtract it on the outside of the parentheses so that the equation stays balanced. But remember, this 3 will multiply this one, so we need a 3 multiplying the one we're subtracting as well. All right, so now if we go ahead and factor that, we need to factor x squared minus 7/3 x plus 49/36. That can be a little daunting to try and factor if we're looking just at it. But remember what we said before. We always are going to factor into x plus the b over 2 term squared. So that can make it a lot easier to factor when I'm dealing with decimals or fractions or something like that. So instead of sitting here and trying to factor this out, I'm just going to say this is x plus the negative 7/6, whole thing squared, minus, now we need to combine over here, 3 times 49 over 36. I'll cancel the 3 in the denominator and leave a 12 there, so it'll be 49/12. And that is our completed form, and that's how you complete the square when the a is not a positive 1.